What does it actually take to be in the top 10% of Americans by net worth? How much is sitting in the average person's retirement account? These are just some of the jaw-dropping money statistics we're going to go over today. I've compiled the most shocking money stats that reveal where Americans really stand financially. And let's get started with home ownership. The finish line keeps moving. Remember when buying your first house in your mid-20s was just what people did? The median age of first-time home buyers in America is now 40 years old. According to the National Association of Realtors 2025 data, that's up from 33 in just 2021, a 7-year leap in only 4 years. 40 years old for your first home. That means the average person is spending their entire 20s and most of their 30s writing rent checks, building someone else's equity while trying to save for a down payment on houses that keep getting more expensive faster than they can save. Even all home buyers, not just first timers, now have a median age of 38. The median means the middle point. Half of buyers are older than 38, half are younger. That's different from the mean, average, which can be skewed by extremes. If 9 people buy homes at 35 and 1 person buys at 75, the mean would be 39, but the median would still be 35. Median gives us a clearer picture of what's typical. The pattern of buying a starter home in your late 20s, trading up in your 30s, and having the mortgage paid off before retirement? That's becoming the exception, not the rule. This isn't about people making poor choices or being financially irresponsible. Wages haven't kept pace with housing costs. Student debt pushes everything back. And in many markets, what used to be called a starter home now costs what a luxury home did a generation ago. The new credit card trap. According to Morgan Stanley's analysis of consumer finance data, the average buy now, pay later balance sits around $760. That might not sound like much compared to credit card debt, but here's the concerning part. Approximately 24% of BNPL users are missing payments. 1 in 4 people using these services can't keep up with the payment schedules. And these are supposed to be the easy payment plans, usually 4 installments over 6 weeks, interest-free if you pay on time. The psychology of BNPL is insidious. It doesn't feel like debt. There's no credit card to swipe, no interest rate disclosed up front, no sense of borrowing money. You're just splitting payments on that jacket or those concert tickets. 4 easy payments of $47.50 feels so much lighter than $190 up front, even though it's the exact same money. You use BNPL for your shoes, then your friend's birthday gift, then those kitchen gadgets, then the phone case. Suddenly you've got 5 different payment schedules with 5 different companies, all hitting your account on different days. You lose track. A payment bounces. Now you're paying late fees on a $45 purchase. The $760 average balance means people are juggling multiple BNPL accounts simultaneously, trying to remember which payment hits when. And that 24% late payment rate, those aren't people being irresponsible. They're people who lost track of the complexity they created trying to make purchases feel more affordable. Millionaires, more common than you think. About 7% of the US population are millionaires. That's roughly 23.8 million people who've crossed the 7-figure net worth threshold. 1 in every 14 Americans is a millionaire. Walk through a grocery store, sit in a coffee shop, look around your neighborhood. Statistically, you're surrounded by more millionaires than you realize. Most of these aren't people living in mansions or driving Ferraris. The typical millionaire is someone who bought a house decades ago that appreciated significantly, maxed out their 401k consistently, maybe owned a small business or rental property. They're 60-something years old, wearing jeans from Costco. You wouldn't pick them out of a lineup. Net worth includes everything: home equity, retirement accounts, investments. So a couple in their 60s with a paid-off $600,000 house and $400,000 in retirement savings. Millionaires, they might still clip coupons. The takeaway isn't that becoming a millionaire is easy. It obviously isn't. But it's also not as rare or as flashy as we've been led to believe. It's typically the result of decades of consistent, unsexy habits. Buying a home, staying employed, investing regularly, not doing anything spectacularly stupid with money. 7% have done it. That's both encouraging, It's achievable for more people than you'd think. And sobering because it means 93% haven't. The gap between those two groups often comes down to time, consistency, and starting early enough for compounding to work its magic. Student debt, the price of education. The average American with student loans is carrying $42,673 in debt. According to federal student aid data from 2025, that's the typical federal student loan balance, essentially the price of a decent car, except this car is an education you already finished years ago. At typical repayment rates, that's $400 to $500, leaving your account every month for a decade or more. That's the down payment on a house you can't save, the retirement contributions you're not making in your 20s and 30s, the career risks you can't take because you need stable income to make those payments. Remember that stat about first-time home buyers now being 40? This is a big part of why. It's hard to save for a down payment when a car payment's worth of money is going to loans every month for something you can't sell, can't return, and already consumed years ago. For perspective, the UK Student Loans Company reports their students have it even worse, averaging around £53,000, roughly $67,000. The student debt burden isn't uniquely American, but that doesn't make the American version any less of an anchor. Car loans, driving upside down. According to Edmunds' 2025 automotive finance data, 26.6% of people trading in their cars are underwater, meaning they owe more than the car is worth. The average negative equity, a staggering $6,754. Let that sink in. More than 1 in 4 people who go to trade in their vehicle discover they need to bring thousands of dollars just to get out of their current loan before they can even think about the next one. They're trapped in a car they can't afford to keep and can't afford to leave. Long loan terms, many now stretching 72 to 84 months, combined with high interest rates, mean you're paying mostly interest for years, while the car depreciates faster than you're building equity. You're in a race against depreciation, and you're losing. The monthly payment crisis is just as bad. Industry data shows that 19.3% of new car buyers are now paying over $1,000 per month for their vehicle. That's $12,000 a year, more than many people's rent, going towards something that loses value the moment you drive it off the lot. $1,000 a month for 7 years for a depreciating asset. That's $84,000 spent on something that'll be worth maybe $15,000 when you finally own it outright. Your car payment shouldn't be your second biggest expense after housing, but for nearly 20% of new car buyers, it is. Household income. According to US Census Bureau data from 2024, the median household income in America is $83,730. That's the middle point. Half of households earn more, half earn less. But here's where it gets interesting. The mean average household income is $121,000. Why the $37,000 gap between median and mean? Because averages get pulled upward by extremes. When a handful of households are making millions, while most are making far less, the average becomes meaningless. It's like saying the average wealth in a room with 9 broke people and 1 billionaire is $100 million. Technically true, completely useless. The median tells the real story. The typical American household is bringing in about $84,000 a year before taxes. After federal, state, and payroll taxes eat their share, that's maybe $60,000 to $65,000 in actual take-home pay, depending on the state. Now layer in those other stats, trying to save for a house while making student loan payments of $500 per month. Maybe a car payment over $1,000 per month if you're in that unlucky 19%. Rent or mortgage, healthcare, childcare, groceries that somehow cost twice what they did a few years ago. Suddenly, $84,000, which sounds like it should be comfortable, starts feeling tight. The American middle class isn't defined by the mean income. It's living at the median, trying to afford a lifestyle priced for the mean. Retirement savings, the gap between having a plan and using it. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 33% of private sector workers in the US don't even have access to an employer-sponsored retirement plan. 1 in 3 workers can't contribute to a 401k even if they wanted to. Their employer simply doesn't offer one. They're on their own to figure out IRAs and retirement savings, which most never do. But having access to a plan doesn't mean people use it well. Research on IRA rollovers shows that 28% of people who roll over their 401k into an IRA just leave it sitting in cash. They go through the trouble of moving the money, then park it in an account, earning essentially nothing while inflation slowly erodes its value. They think they're being safe, but they're actually guaranteeing they'll lose purchasing power. It's like buying a gym membership and then only using the lobby. You have access to the equipment, you're paying for it, but you're not actually using it. For contrast, look at the UK's approach. When they implemented auto-enrolment for workplace pensions in 2012, participation rates jumped to around 75% by 2021, according to UK pension statistics. That's what happens when the default is you're in unless you opt out, instead of you're out unless you opt in. Human inertia works for people instead of against them. The American system relies on workers to be proactive, knowledgeable, and consistent, qualities that most people simply don't have when it comes to retirement planning. So a third have no access, and many who do have access either don't participate or don't invest properly even when they do. The retirement crisis isn't coming. For millions of people, it's already here. They just don't know it yet. Emergency fund. One unexpected bill away from crisis. According to Bankrate's consumer financial surveys, 57 to 60% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency expense from savings. More than half the country is one car repair, one medical bill, one broken water heater away from financial crisis. But it gets worse. The data shows that roughly 18% can't even cover a $100 emergency, not $1,000, $100. A flat tire, an urgent care visit, a broken phone screen. For nearly 1 in 5 Americans, that's enough to derail everything. The $400 threshold is slightly better. About 63% can cover that amount. More than a third of the country would be scrambling if their car needed a minor repair or their kid needed an unexpected doctor's visit that insurance doesn't fully cover. These aren't hypothetical emergencies. Cars break down, appliances fail, medical issues happen, the roof leaks. These are normal, predictable parts of life that we somehow treat as financial catastrophes because most people have no buffer. When you have no emergency fund, everything becomes an emergency. A $300 car repair becomes a credit card balance that takes months to pay off with interest. A $1,000 medical bill becomes a payment plan. You're always one step behind, always catching up, never getting ahead. The gap between financial stability and financial chaos is often just $1,000, and most people are on the wrong side of it. Conclusion: the numbers don't lie. The statistics paint a clear picture. The average person is stretched thin, starting late, and walking a financial tightrope without a safety net. The statistics describe the average, not the inevitable. 7% of Americans are millionaires. The market doubles every decade for those who stay invested. The UK proved that auto-enrolment can triple retirement participation. These numbers show what's possible when people, or systems, make different choices. You can't control housing prices or student loan policies or whether your employer offers a 401k. But you can control whether you're one of the 60% without an emergency fund, or one of the 40% who's prepared. Whether you're paying $1,000 per month for a depreciating car or driving something modest while investing the difference. Whether your retirement money sits in cash or actually grows. The average person's financial situation is sobering, but average is just a description of what most people do, not what you have to do. The numbers tell you where most people end up. Your habits determine which side of those statistics you land on.